and then in which direction you see our company, Gray Residential, as well as the property management industry heading. So let's go ahead, let's jump in. There's a few things that I was hoping to talk about today. It's simply about change and how change is a constant in our world. I was driving home from work yesterday thinking about hosting this podcast. What are we going to talk about? How should we bring it up? In Indiana, it's fall. The leaves are changing. I noticed this on my way home. It's the first time all season. Beautiful. Change is forever constant in our lives, whether it's personal, professional, at home, at work, doesn't matter. I believe that's true across property management, and to be stagnant or to maintain a position in property management seems detrimental. So when I wanted to talk about changes today, I wanted to talk about the short-term trendy changes and how they're being applied, and those short-term trendy changes that are a little bit sticky that lead to adaptation and the way that you two are behaving, you two are acting, and the decisions that you're making. So with that being said, I'm identifying areas of change that are consistent from month to month, week to week in property management: move outs, move ins, unit turns, staffing turnovers, value add projects, acquisitions, dispositions, rental rates, occupancy rates, vacancy rates. Everything is always changing. So as you guys have to do with this ever day by day change in the industry of property management, first and foremost, what have you seen over the 3 decades of your involvement in property management that continues to evolve, but specifically what has stood out the most to you in the evolution of property management?
Like that has changed the absolute most?
The absolute most.
Do you want to take that one?
I mean, for us, it's, just the use of technology every day. In the back of the house in maintenance, we started out hand tools and tools that plugged in the wall, and 3 copy work orders: white, pink, yellow, carbon copy work orders. It was as basic as you get, all the way to now. I've got tools and equipment for HVAC that link up to my phone and can tell me what Miss Anetta's air conditioner is doing right now if I open it up and just go put my equipment on it. There's so, and those things make our jobs easier. It makes us more efficient. But sometimes for some of us, we're not so easily adaptable to change and technology. Some of us get stuck in our ways, and you hear terms like, I'm from the old school, and it's hard to, we get it, and we tell our people all the time, like, there's never going to be a situation where we intentionally waste your time. So if this new technology is slow to boot, once you adopt it and adapt to it, it will make you faster. And so technology,
it'll make them faster. It'll make us know that they can go faster.
It will give us the confidence that they could move faster. How's that? It's a better answer?
Yeah,
definitely. So, but yeah, we deal with the same problems as we used to, but just having technology that helps us figure out that issue faster these days. It's a big change now that I can
I think
see.
the data is a blessing and a curse, because when I started, and probably when you did too, it was like you had a weekly report. You pulled an availability, you put it in your binder. As the week went on, when you leased an apartment, you wrote your name, you wrote the last name of the person that was moving in, and then you highlighted it so nobody leased that apartment. And then Monday morning, Gina put together the Monday report packet that might have included, that information and a few other things. And so it was like, nobody on Wednesday was looking at what happened on Tuesday.
Right.
Nobody looked at the tour that happened on Tuesday and said, why didn't they lease, or whatever. You had this like window of time to continue to nurture the lead, do the follow-up, get them assigned. Back then they had to go get a check or a money order, and, they sat and filled out the application. And so I think sometimes like speed of data is great, and sometimes it causes this like level of impatience for action or level of impatience for result. Whereas, we used to have some, maybe more steady, but a little bit of a gap in time when we were actually like being measured or measuring. And now we can just measure all of it all the time. And, you can sometimes get, just like deeply into something that, might be detracting from, making moves,
Right.
I don't know. So
In this vein, so both of you would say technology is probably one of the biggest things that's changed in property management over the past few years, 10 years or so.
yeah,
I was
definitely.
wondering, like, technology is supposed to be there to make our lives easier usually, but it sounds like the implementation or adoption of that technology across the sites is somewhat challenging sometimes, depending on what it is.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, for different reasons. Like,
So I was wondering if, like, the implementation of technology, like from when you guys started, what was the most challenging aspect of the job then? And like today, what's the most challenging aspect of the job? Is it the same? Has it changed because of technology? I mean, obviously before you didn't have to worry about, are people going to adopt this software that we just used? And
Right.
I never felt like it was a challenging role when
No.
I was leasing, and but also just from a competitive landscape, it wasn't like it was. You had a website obviously, and you had advertisements. You were in the For Rent magazine. Used to have magazines.
so just the competition today is totally different.
Well, yeah, because it's so competitive out there. You're worried so much about your branding and having the right content, trying to grab the attention. Obviously, like a Google search engine results page is different today than it was in. I started in 2001, and I remember when we got QR codes for the first time in For Rent magazine, and we were teaching clients how to use it and helping them understand the tracking capabilities. So, tracking capabilities have come so far, but they take it to a place where operators are trying to throw, a single dart at the bullseye every time.
Right.
Whereas, maybe back then, you were just like, look, I'm just going to close my eyes, throw as many darts as I can at the dartboard. Something's going to stick. We're going to get some leases and it's going to be fine.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question there, but
Go ahead. Sorry.
No,
I was going to say, I think another way that it seems like technology may have changed or potentially was going to change for the better, but may not have communication. 30 years ago, there were no cell phones. We had a walkie-talkie.
you said office to mic.
Yeah. and that
They
was
couldn't hide from you.
and that was your communication.
Right.
And so it's like with the evolution, as we adopt these cell phones every day, and then from just telephone in your pocket now to texting platforms and social media, like I can communicate with Katrina out on site all day long and not see her.
Right.
And that that influx of communication took the physical part of no one's coming to the office and seeing how we're doing,
Right.
checking in. I didn't see you at lunch. I don't know where you are during the day. It appears you're working because our chat log is full of information, but I don't see you anymore. And I think that becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Because
For sure.
it's easy for morale to go from here to here. Someone feels certain kind of way and we're not coming together as a unit and hashing these things out. They fester and they become worse. And so I think it was supposed to be a great thing and maybe didn't
Right.
end up being as great as we thought
Right.
to be able to be as accessible.
Or it's just imbalanced.
I think it's imbalanced.
Yeah.
Okay.
Imbalance is a great way to put that.
That makes sense. So when you guys first started, what would you say, if you had to say one thing, hardest part of the job or the role was back then? It sounded like it was a lot easier back then without a lot of this technology. It sounded a little bit simpler.
I have all positive memories of my start, and I think that I don't think that I'm special in that. Like if you talk to people our age, I
was allowed to mess up. A lot of things were
Yeah.
trial and error.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't make
I had great
multi-thousands
teachers.
of dollars mistakes over and over, but
Yeah.
you learned as you went, and you were congratulated as you learned more, and it showed. In the city, in Indianapolis Public Housing, we were union, so as you progressed in pay as well, so that was a motivator. I think that's missing today, but it's difficult because in this market, everyone comes in at different levels of experience and different levels of money, so that tier system may not be as easy to adopt. But yeah, I mean, we communicated. Like, you brought something back to the shop, and if you didn't know how to fix it, someone in that shop did.
Right.
And then you knew.
Right.
And you felt good about that, built the confidence to go learn something else. I don't have bad memories.
Yeah. I mean, the hardest thing might have been like when a new competitor would come in, but that wasn't so frequent. You know what I mean? Like it was like a big deal. It was like, oh my gosh, Washington Village is building, and you'd go.
Now we got to go put cookies. We got to take cookies to that neighborhood.
Right, right. You take some candy to Jiffy Lube.
From listening to you guys today, it seems like you need to be much more proficient in just a lot more areas. Whether it's using technology, sales, PPC, or Google Ads, or like anything, it just seems like you have to have your fingers in way more areas, and you have to be much better in all of those areas than like when you started.
For us,
Yeah.
time management is a big one because, X amount of years ago, before revenue management systems, there was a little bit of leniency on, if that unit right there is not necessarily rented, can we move some dates around so that we're not backs against the wall? But when you're in for us, when you're in a fast paced property that's on, a revenue management platform, that leasing team's job is get that off the shelf, efficiency. And our job is to make sure it's ready at all times. And so we'll have situations where we're scrambling to get this unit over here ready because it's been leased for the last 3 weeks, and then boom, that unit falls through. But this unit now needs to be done in the second, and we can't draw back and say, look, you got to take a break. We have to stay on it. So time management is probably one of the things that, if we're not adapting to or figuring out how to do better, we're losing.
Okay.
We're losing.
Awesome.
Yeah, everyone does have to be very technically, a lot of technical aptitude, but I don't even think that's like the hard part.
No.
I think the hardest thing out there is like intrinsic motivation. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's, failure on our part to help everyone understand like how their contributions, impact the community, positively.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of it is just like, society's just so sad,
culture a little
down.
Yeah.
And, just lots and lots of things working against us, because I don't actually think that the job is that complicated. Before we did our leases, for a while you typed into like a Word document, which is terrifying because I could have just typed anything I wanted into a lease agreement. I didn't, but I could have, and then you went to a mail merge.
Yeah.
And then eventually NAA came out, with their lease agreement that, and then now you're just mapping data fields, and then now you're just clicking right through it, just, double checking and making sure that it's all, it's all correct. And there's nothing ultimately difficult about that. And, probably the hardest thing is how many tasks can, at this point are so efficiently done that they don't have to be done on site at all. And then you're just trying to grapple with what that looks like. And now we're trying to make decisions about what has to get done on site, what's incredibly important for connectivity. It's actually not a difficult job, and I'm not diminishing the work that people do. I'm just saying, like, did technology take some of the fun or some of the joy out of it? Is the productivity measures, losing the fact that like it's possible Debbie Brown does want to come up and talk to me for 45 minutes, and that's an important part of her day.
Right.
And maybe it was an important part of mine. A true salesperson, a true like great leasing person is very social.
Oh yeah.
Very social. Mm-hmm. And so, maybe the challenge actually is, finding the balance between like sucking the joy out of the job. Right. With the technological pieces and still allowing for the connectivity to occur.
That's interesting. Cool.